For the Pledge of Allegiance. Let's see, Zach, why don't you lead us?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please. Director Avila?
Here.
Director Dunnert?
Here.
Director Freeman? Here. Vice Chair Gray?
Here.
Chair O'Brien? Here. Agenda review. Are there
Yes,
any
thank you, Chair and Board. I've got a few items. One, and I wanted to note a typo on page 3 of the drone staff report. There was a reference to the date of June 15th, and it indicates 2002. It should be 2022. We have corrected the record on the public copy, but the copy the board received will still have that. Secondly, we did receive one letter via email regarding the drone item, which I will read into the record when we get to that item under public comments. And then lastly, I wanted to ask the board if you would like to move the drone item up on the agenda to follow item 7C before the budget discussion. Obviously, board latitude on that, but you could move it up ahead of the budget portion of the meeting.
Okay.
Dan, I'm open to that, but I spoke earlier today from somebody from Allied Studios, and I think I see them in the audience, but I don't know. Okay, yes, I just want to make sure you were able to get here.
That might be, it might be a good idea to move it up. Let's do that. Any objections?
So
Okay.
for the, just for the
I'm
record,
trying to understand, Dan, what are you asking? I'm not following.
I'm suggesting the board might want to consider moving item 8A to follow item 7C.
I see. Okay, I see what you're saying. So whatever anybody else wants to do is fine.
Okay, let's do it.
So for the public that's listening, we've just moved the discussion on drones a little earlier in the agenda since most of the people are here for that item.
Yeah, okay. Great. Okay, item 4, public statements. For items not on the agenda, I have one green card that does not state what they're talking about. The name is Doug Bamforth. Doug, are you here? Come on up, unless it's about the drones.
Come on down. Yes, I want to talk about just a couple things. My main thing that I spend a lot of time now on is water. And I've been a resident here for about 47 years. And anyway, right now, of course, we're under water restrictions, and the city council is, in my opinion, not doing their job by allowing more and more construction. They could be suing the state of California, but let's get to the parts. I came back from Arizona, Mesa, and all their parks over there are kind of shaped like a bowl, like a stadium. And so, matter of fact, one of the nights I was there, they had a monsoon come through. And I happened to notice that all that water ran down and was on the grass areas and then it went in. And I thought that maybe in the future when we're designing parks, that we should do that, maybe make it more of a stadium. And the people like it because they can sit up along the top and watch the whole field of what's going on, rather than trying to see straight across. And that's one thing. The other thing is, I'd like to talk about reclaimed water. Right now, the reclaimed water that the city produces is basically the only thing it's being used for is keeping the dust down at the dump. And I think there should be a way that, I don't know, maybe using trucks or something, that we should be able to bring it over and use that on the parks to help and keep the bills down a little, because that would obviously be a lot less money. I don't know exactly how it would be done. I mean, you have a lot of smart people that work for the parks department, and I'm sure that they should come up with some ways to figure out to do that. But I think that would save on the cost, because parks are now more important than ever. Because as they try to cram more and more people in, people need an outlet. And the parks are absolutely important. And this way, instead of being too thin, they can get out and enjoy it. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you. Doug, I'll follow up with you later. I want to talk to you about a purple pipe. So when I send you a message later, that's about reclaimed water.
Dan, you said there was an email to be read in public comments?
That's
or-
for the, when we get to item 8A related to
Okay.
the drones.
All right.
Chair, I did want to make sure, is there anybody on Zoom that would like to make public comment for an item that's not on the agenda? Anybody on Zoom for a public comment that's not on the agenda?
Doesn't sound like it. Okay.
Danny Sue.
No, Chair, we have Danny Sue
Oh,
raising
okay.
her hand.
Trying to unmute again. I'd like to ask the board to reconsider the shade structure for the community garden in Oak Park, because, it's a really, really hot place, and these people really, they really deserve shade. It's nuts that there's no shade there for them. And going through the hundreds of pages of stuff that you're spending money on, I saw $175,000 for a sign at Deer Hill Park, and you can't provide. I don't have a spot there. I'm not a member of this, but I walk by and I see the people there at like 6 a.m. and 7 a.m. and that's the latest they can be there working up there. So it would be nice if you'd maybe reconsider trying to find them some kind of a shade structure. Thank you.
Danny, as a bald man, I appreciate the comments on the need for shade. I'll bring it up when we get to the planning budget. I'll ask questions about what you spoke about.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Anyone else on Zoom or off want to comment on something not on the agenda? Okay. Item 5, approval of minutes. Rancho Simi Recreation and Park District Board of Directors meeting June 15th, 2022.
I'll move approval.
I hear a second?
I'll second.
All right, roll call, please.
Director Abela,
Aye.
Director Dennert,
Yes.
Director Freeman,
Yes.
Vice Chair Gray,
Aye.
Chair O'Brien.
Yes.
That motion carries with unanimous vote.
Okay. Rancho Simi Recreation and Park District Board of Directors special meeting June 23rd, 2022.
I'll move to approve the minutes.
I hear a second?
I'll second.
All right. Roll call, please.
Director Abela,
Aye.
Director Dennert,
Yes.
Director Freeman,
Yes.
Vice Chair Gray,
Aye.
Chair O'Brien.
Yes.
And that motion carries with unanimous vote.
Okay. Item 6, consent agenda. Any questions? I have a couple, actually. Both check registers, the one for June 17th and, June 15th and June 30th, show a bounce check. So bounce check charges of like $20,000. Could somebody tell me what was going on there?
Thank you,
Thank you, Chair. I'll ask Ms. Pennington if she can give us some information on that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a payment for the Daytron permit. If you recall, they use a portion of the Tierra Rajada property, and it's a 5-year payment for the $20,000. Unfortunately, there's a little accounting error. We did receive a third check from them, and we're hoping this one goes through smoothly, but it wasn't a non-sufficient funds situation. It said refer to maker, but Miguel and I are working through that with Daytron, and we expect that to be resolved this month.
Okay, good. Good. It did get my attention, especially when it was there twice. It was like, wait a second. Okay, any other questions?
Yes.
Yeah.
This is just curious. I noticed that our Shell gas card, and I was wondering, how does that compare to past years? Do you know how Are we spending a whole lot more on fuel than we did over the last year, or do you know?
Yes, because of gas prices, I think we're about 50% over the budgeted amount
Okay.
for the
And we
year,
used
so
to
we
buy
are
it
spending
in-
more.
When we were on the old headquarters, we used to buy it in bulk. And
Right,
so we
but-
don't buy it in bulk anymore, we're just have the.
Right, so at the old headquarters, we had a tank there and we buy it wholesale.
Right.
But when we moved to this facility, we could not get a tank permitted. So then we moved to purchasing at the local gas stations, yes.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
I'll move approval of the consent.
Okay.
I'll second that.
All right, roll call, please.
Director Abela?
Aye.
Director Jennert?
Yes.
Director Freeman?
Yes.
Vice Chair Gray?
Aye.
Chair O'Brien?
Aye.
That motion carries with a unanimous vote.
Okay, item 7, presentations, scheduled items, public hearings. Item A, presentation to Eugene Molnar, Senior Grounds Maintenance Supervisor, in honor and appreciation of 35 years of dedicated service to the Rancho Simi Recreation and Park District.
Thank you, Chair. If I could
To have Eugene step up to the podium, I'd appreciate it. So this is the third of the big three. So Wayne, we recently acknowledged for 35 years, Robert Mendez, and now Eugene. So we've got a very distinguished group of folks that have been with the Park District for quite a long time and have a lot of history. So with that, I'll turn it over to Ms. Pennington for the report, and then staff will have some comments.
Thank you, Chair O'Brien and members of the board. It's my pleasure to provide the introduction to this award. Eugene was hired on at Rancho Simi on July 9th, 1987 as a groundskeeper 1, and 13 months later he was promoted to a groundskeeper 2. His hard work and dedication earned him the position of crew leader in September of 1989. He became the grounds maintenance supervisor 2 in November 1997, and the senior maintenance grounds supervisor in January 2000. Eugene has held that position for the last 22 years, working in both Simi Valley and Oak Park. During Eugene's 35 years with Rancho Simi, he has been awarded the Employee of the Month honor 4 times and received the Employee of the Year award in 1997. Eugene, congratulations on your 35-year anniversary, and thank you for your service to Rancho Simi and the communities it serves. And I will hand it over to staff if they have comments.
Wayne?
You didn't think you were gonna get away. Wow, that's quite an introduction by Miss Pennington. Yeah, Eugene and I have been around for 35 years. He used to have dark hair and I used to have hair. But, you know, working together, we worked together for 25 years, or 35 years, I can't believe it. You know, I don't know if all of you know this, Eugene's not only in charge of Oak Park, but he's in charge of the irrigation crew. Eugene gets the burden. When I tell him to cut 30% of the water, it's easy for me to do. I just write a piece of paper. He's got the burden of figuring out how to cut the 30% off at 50 park sites. Eugene has done an excellent job as of last week. I got the current numbers for Eugene. He's got the neighborhood parks down to 64% of what we were using before. And our active areas for the ball fields, he's down to 88%. So we're consistent with Dan's wishes to get the numbers down. Unfortunately, the city of Simi Valley raises the water price, so it doesn't reflect anything on the warrant registers. But I gotta thank Eugene. He's been around, he's a great person. He deals with a lot of stuff. People call him day and night. I call him on the weekends, he always responds. I'm very thankful to have Eugene around. All of the supervisors have done an excellent job. And yeah, between 3 of us, we got 105 years of service to this district. I guess one of us are gonna have to retire pretty soon. But I just wanted to thank Eugene, and everybody should thank Eugene. He's going through a rough time right now with this water shortage and the irrigation crew.
Thank you.
And just real quickly from the staff, I just wanted to comment, Eugene, if there's a word, it's the ultimate team player. He works well with all of his colleagues, both the management staff and his subordinates, his colleagues in the other departments, and also works excellently with the public and the Oak Park community presently, but I would call him the ultimate team player. So Eugene, thank you for your 35 years, and hopefully there's a few more, so thank you.
Eugene, thank you. We needed rain for many reasons. Among those, maybe allow you to relax a little bit if it started to rain. But what's your favorite part about your job?
Just working for the community. I've been a resident for 50 years here in Simi Valley, so I've seen it grown from 2 restaurants to what we have presently. And so just the development of all those places. And over my career, I got to work in the field and work my way up. So I never worked in one single place, so there was never any boredom. And I got to open Corriganville, the Equestrian Center, Rancho San Isidro Community Park. So I got to be on the cutting edge of a lot of growth of the community and just working with my coworkers. And just like Wayne gave me credit, I can't take the credit for the water. That was my irrigation crew. I didn't have the support and a good staff underneath me. Those guys did a wonderful job of managing, crunching numbers, and coming up with solutions. So I'm only as good as the guys that work for me, and then I got a lot of good men that work for me. And I got to give credit to my wife too. She's out in the
Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Hi, yeah, you're a great guy, and congratulations on great work. I know in my main career, I made it 31 and change, and that seemed like forever. So thank you for the 35 years. The only thing is, Wayne scared me a little bit when he's starting to suggest the retirement word for any of you. Let's just take that out of the, don't put that in the minutes anywhere. Congratulations, Eugene, and thank you for everything. We really appreciate it.
Thank you. And what I was going to comment on my wife is that it was really due to her, because when we were dating, she saw the ad for the park district and said, we need insurance and we need to have some security. You need to do something different. so yes, and she saw that it was a field that I like to work in with people and outdoors and so forth. So it was a good match.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
We got a little work for you, Eugene.
Okay. Here we go.
1, 2, good. Your couple, 1, 2. There you go.
Thank you.
There you go.
Thank you for your service to the community.
Thank you.
I think it's really, it's just not the board and other staffs that recognizes his value. The people in Oak Park are extremely happy, and they gave very good congratulations to you last at the committee meeting. So thank you very much.
I see Harry's raising his hand on Zoom.
Yeah, just wanted to say we love you in Oak Park. The people and the landscape do love you, and Rancho Simi has been great to Oak Park. We've flourished under Rancho Simi staff and your dedication, but you're the best of the best, Eugene. We're grateful to you how green you've kept it. With that water shortage, I don't know how you managed to reduce it, but everything's really green around here. So thank you for all the trail clearance and everything you do. And that comes from Derek Ross too, who couldn't be here, but wants to extend his thanks.
Thank you.
Okay.
Anyone else? No? Okay. 7B, presentation of the part-time employee of the month for June 2022 to John Manchester, maintenance worker 4.
Thank you, Chair. Ms. Pennington will provide staff's report.
Thank you. The part-time employee of the month for June 2022 is John Manchester. John is a maintenance worker 4 in the planning and maintenance department. He has worked for the district for 5 years, and this is his second employee of the month award. The person who nominated John stated, "A utility man would be an accurate description of John, filling in for many positions such as electrical, carpentry, and other trades. He has an extensive construction background, which has been beneficial to the district. John is hardworking, reliable, and a tireless employee who embodies a can-do spirit. If you've been around the Park District, you probably encountered John working to repair or install equipment. He takes the lead and gets the job done. In addition to his skills and great work ethic, he maintains a positive attitude and is a pleasure to work with. John is deserving of the Employee of the Month award and recognition. And I don't know if he was able to make it tonight. We were expecting him, but I'm not sure if he's there in the room.
He's not here?
Okay, so we'll make sure he gets his plaque and check.
Okay. All right. Okay, thank you. Item C, presentation of the full-time employee of the month for June 2022 to Miguel Chavez, accountant.
Thank you, Chair. Ms. Pennington will provide this report as well.
And I know Miguel is there. He is the full-time employee of the month for June 2022.
Miguel, if you can come up. Yeah.
He's the district's accountant in the administration department. He's worked for the district for over 6 years, and this is his third Employee of the Month award. The person who nominated Miguel stated the following: Rancho Simi is fortunate to have Miguel as an employee with his credentials, professional work ethic, and the contributions he makes towards the success of the district. Miguel did an outstanding job forecasting year-end financial projections related to the pandemic during an unprecedented year. His analytical ability provides management with the tools needed to manage district finances. Miguel has prepared audit schedules to streamline the annual process to allow for greater efficiencies. He constantly strives to improve accounting and finance procedures and sets goals each year to implement the effective changes. In addition, he has a positive attitude and helps to create a great work environment. Miguel is truly deserving of the Employee of the Month recognition. Congratulations, Miguel.
Thank you, Chair. If I could just make comment, as the board's aware, we've had quite a bit of moving parts in our finances over the last several years. We moved a building, we went through COVID and the financial impacts of that, and then Miguel has been instrumental, being the right-hand person to Teresa and I as we work through our finances, not only crunching and putting the numbers together, but also being a part of the policy discussions and making recommendations to us to forward to you guys. So he's been outstanding, and he's done a great job and really stepped up over the last several years in taking on that responsibility.
Let me just comment, this is your third in 5 years. That proves how valuable you are.
Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you.
That's
And I
record.
don't mean to diminish the term accountant, but I think you're much more than an accountant. You're
My
really,
forte.
really very important to our whole operation.
Miguel?
Thank you. Yes.
Yeah, congratulations. Yeah, really well deserved. You're so valuable to us. I know whenever I visit the activity center, you have such a great attitude. So you always have a smile on your face and you're welcoming. So I appreciate that part. I do want to apologize to you though, Miguel. I turned down your offer to be your cornhole partner like we were last year when we did well. And in addition to causing embarrassment to myself at basketball, it cost us a chance to win the tournament probably. So I assure you, if I'm still around next year, we're going to go out there and win that cornhole tournament. But you're a great guy and a great asset to the district.
Thank you. Thank you, Ed.
And I'm going to follow up talking about the budget. Yeah, I appreciate all the accounting team, what they do, from being able to pull out a very specific check to the transparency award that we've earned, and that goes through your work. Congratulations on being able to accurately predict much of the last few years and the numbers and their impact, because there's no textbook that would tell you how to do that, so congratulations on that.
Thank you. Thank you.
You do it outstandingly well. Congratulations. Thank you for your service.
I'll try not to put a lady's face right in the back right there. Just peeking right through you guys. 1, 2, 3. Got it. Okay.
Okay, thank you so much.
Well, I just want to say, thank you so much for this award. I'm very proud to have received this award. I'm very proud to be an employee of this district. I'm grateful to work for Dan, who has really shown me a lot about government finance, the intricacies and the complexities. And I'm very grateful to work for Teresa Pennington, who's really been supportive and encouraging me and mentoring me and just creating an environment for all of us to succeed. And so I thank everyone, and of course the board, who's, again, created an environment for people like me to succeed. So I thank you very much.
Okay. We're going to skip ahead to item 8A, second reading and adoption of amendment to ordinance number 3 and consideration of an adoption of resolution number 2038, approving a policy regarding the usage of drones in the Simi Valley and Oak Park areas of the district.
Thank you, Chair. Before I get started, I just want to remind the community and those that are with us tonight, our protocol is that staff provides a report. The board then asks any clarifying questions or any questions they might have. We then take public comment. The board will hear public comment and consider that. After the public comment closes, then the board will deliberate and make their decision. So that's the order of operations here this evening. I will start with staff report. On June 15th last month, the board of directors adopted or introduced an ordinance for first reading. That ordinance generally banned drones in open spaces of the district, generally. At the same time, the ordinance provides for the development of a policy. As the board expressed, they did want to provide opportunity for those that drones are becoming more active in our community. They did provide the opportunity for folks to have a location in our property where drones could be used. So with that, the board asked and directed that a policy be developed to allow drones in certain areas. That's the background. So the ordinance has not been, it's back for second reading. Again, it accomplishes the goal that the board directed of a few meetings ago. Regarding the policy, staff has drafted a policy for the board's consideration. The policy is attached to a resolution in your report. It identifies specific areas where drone use would be allowed or considered this evening. And I will list those locations. That was directed by the board on June 15th. The policy indicates and recognizes that those that are using drones for recreational use must comply with all of the federal regulations provided by the FAA. It provides a definition for filming. So when we say filming and photography, what do we mean by that? And it also identifies that drone users must fly in a safe manner that doesn't cause disturbance to other folks who are also enjoying the park. Again, the policy is in your packet. It's a little bit more detailed than my summary, but it's there before you. In addition to that, the legal counsel and I, after we drafted the ordinance, thinking about fire hazards, we could add some provisions to the ordinance related to fire prevention relative to drone flying. So if the board is interested in adding those items, I could share our thoughts on what those might be should the board want to do that. Additionally, a third part of this evening is, as we did the policy, the legal counsel and I came up with a definition for filming, which is very broad. It basically covers streaming, video, photography, storage, so the intent is to allow all of it. But as it relates to Rule 33, we have an older version of definition of filming and video. So we'd like to get some direction from the board this evening. We could bring back Rule 33 and just clean up the definition in that rule at a future meeting. So this evening, staff's recommending that the board consider a second reading and adoption of the ordinance banning the drones and allowing for the policy. That the board consider approving the policy as drafted before you, and lastly, providing direction to us on whether or not you want us to bring back a clarity of the definition of filming in Rule 33. That concludes staff's report.
All right, are there any questions from board members?
Oops, Chair, I'm sorry, I wanted to list the locations that are in the policy. Go ahead, Ed, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
The locations identified in the policy, the draft policy, let me find that for you here. And again, it's subject to obviously consideration of the board this evening. And then here, I gotta find that section. June 5th board meeting. It's a large packet, so I'm trying to. Okay, the locations as directed by the board, or as we understood it, would be Big Sky Park between dawn and 2 p.m. As the board knows, we have youth activities in that park later, so we're suggesting that drones not be allowed after 2. Chumash Park is on the list. Corriganville Park is on the proposed list. Chivos Canyon, Las Yajas Trail area, Tapo Canyon Trail area, and the Tierra Hada Park area near the Arroyo Simi. Those are the locations in the policy. That concludes the report.
Yeah, Dan, can you briefly and concisely, you mentioned the fire hazard and fire prevention aspect. Can you explain that, please? Did I misunderstand?
Yes. So in addition to the provisions that are in the current draft policy before you, legal counsel and I were talking about, are there safety measures that we could include in the policy, some provisions that would be cognizant of potential fire or reduce the risk. So I've got a list of those if you'd like me to read those too.
Sure.
Okay. Number 1 is takeoffs and landings of drones. Even crash landings should only be done on pavement or rocky surfaces and away from brush or other at least combustible areas. So the idea there is when you're using your drone and taking off and landing, you do it in an area that's hard dirt or devoid of, any vegetation, so to speak. The second proposed provision we could add is after landing or crash, carefully inspect the area to confirm that you did not leave behind any sparks or embers. So if you have a crash, go over to your drone, make sure that it's not sparked or anything. The third item would be to douse and report all sparks or burning embers. The fourth item is should you start a fire, call 911. And the sixth item is not to fly drones during red flag warnings as announced by the county. So we might add, the board may want to add those to the policy. Lastly, I did want to mention that the Oak Park Committee did review this item at their committee meeting last Thursday, and on a 3-2 vote of the committee, there was 5 present of the 7, they chose to recommend to the board, it's an advisory recommendation, not to allow drones to be flown in any location in Oak Park. The 2 folks that voted were open to allowing for drones. They were talking about the Oak Canyon Community Park location and the archery range. That being said, the majority had recommended to the board that drone flying not be allowed anywhere in the Oak Park area of the district.
Okay, any other questions?
Dan, that's still tonight, if we choose to restrict the use of drones, someone can still just park on the street, fly over a park, correct?
Correct, I'll have the legal counsel, but yes, it's takeoff and landing on our property. We do not, that is allowed by the FAA where they fly, so we're just talking about taking off and landing from Park District locations.
Correct. We would be preempted from regulating where they fly. We would have better luck regulating where they take off and land. So whenever we're talking about any kind of regulation, it's just takeoffs and landings, not where they're flying.
Okay.
And Dan, looking at this report, would this be your understanding too? This report's focused on us restricting the use and location of drones. Not allowing for the use of drones, but because the previous policy, but we're voting to, or discussing restricting location and uses.
Yeah, and I think the board heard from the community, we heard from those in the equestrian community, we heard from those in Oak Park, and I think the policy does restrict it from there, and I think it accomplishes at least most of those folks, because we're not, the ordinance doesn't allow it in equestrian areas of the district, and obviously it's the board's decision on Oak Park, but it doesn't, it's responsive to restricting the use of drones as we had previously discussed.
And I do understand that when we have an ordinance, we have to go through multiple readings, and that's good, so the public has the ability to participate. But if we do this and we choose locations, we're able to pivot or adjust that a lot easier, correct?
Correct, because it's embedded in a policy, so if we want to change that, either add to it or restrict it further, it's an easier bureaucratic process to make that change. It's one meeting rather than several.
Thank you. I don't have any other questions.
Let me just comment, I'm glad you have those fire hazard suggestions for the policy, because as I looked at this list, I'm thinking about Corrigan and Chivos Canyon and Las Yajas and Tampa Canyon Trail. They're all in what I would consider fire hazard areas, which concern me. I mean, if it is a fact that drones can cause fires, we're allowing them in those areas which are high fire areas. I'm not sure that's consistent thinking.
Chair, any further questions of staff relative to the report?
Actually, I've got a couple, and it's also about the fire areas. First of all, last time we talked about this ordinance, we were saying our consensus, if I recall correctly, was that we didn't want to ask people to get permits because they're already getting permits from the FAA, which I totally get, it makes sense. However, we need to make sure they get the fire safety rules. How do we need to make sure they understand those, they've read them and understand them.
So the policy as proposed does not include a permitting requirement for recreational use.
Right.
I would suggest that we could do some educational outreach for that.
Yeah.
So to the extent we're not going to have people coming in the door to distribute that, we could do some educational and some signage and some outreach. Yeah.
And all the and somewhere where people can't miss it. Yeah.
There may be some drone, some loose drone clubs or users in town. We could ask them to share it amongst themselves, the policies and rules.
The other question I had, with sparks, it's possible they could start fires. Is it also possible that a drone could see a fire starting and alert 911? Is that even technically possible, technologically possible?
Yeah, I'm not an expert in the area, but I am aware that MRCA is proactively using drones to identify fires in camps in open space areas. So they use drones, at least from the staff perspective, to help identify fire risk. So drones, yes, are used for that purpose. And again, I'm not a fire expert, but they are using it for fire prevention amongst government agencies.
May I ask one follow-up question?
Yeah. Yes.
Dan, just refresh my memory, but I believe at the last meeting when we discussed this, as far as the whole permitting thing, we were advised by legal counsel that it would be unwise to have a permitting process. Am I correct on that?
Correct.
That is correct.
Right. All right, I just wanted to clarify so that we don't get bogged down on that issue again. But that was what we were advised, correct?
Correct, and just for clarity, that's for recreational use, Ed. We do have the provision in another part of the ordinance that requires a permit when it's tied to a special event or a filming operation. So but that permit is not a drone permit, it's a permit for filming, which we would then allow a drone use as part of that. But no permits for recreational use as the board had directed.
Okay. Josh, you have any questions?
I have no questions at this time. Thank you.
All right, I guess now we open it up to public comment.
Yeah, Chair, I think if we could take public comment of those that are in attendance, and then when we get finished with those that are in attendance, we'll read those that online that may want to make comment, and I will assist by identifying those folks online.
Okay, that sounds great. I have some green cards. I'm just going to call them in the order I have them. Brig, I hope I got this right. Is it Brig Gordon or Bria Gordon? Brian Gordon. Okay.
And Dan, you also have that letter to read.
Thank you for the reminder.
Hello, everybody. My name is Brian Gordon, and I'm with Allied Studios, which is right at the edge of Corriganville. Currently, we still have a lot of activity from drones on property or flying over property coming from Corriganville already. And this hinders our operations along with hindering operations that we send to Corriganville. A couple years ago, we had a Once Upon a Time in Hollywood that was brought to you guys from us. We've had a handful of series that have been out there. T-Rex Ranch was out there, Shell, which is an Apple TV series. Warner Brothers is currently in and out of Corriganville on a regular basis due to our operations. If there's recreational drone use out there, they're gonna go somewhere else. Whether it's our movie ranch or Big Sky or somewhere that it's really limited. And so I really think you guys need to think about Corriganville, the use. I have some footage, which I don't know if you guys can see it or not, of activity that has gone on where they're taking off, and we see them taking off from Corriganville, buzzing our sets with operations going on or empty, and then they land back into Corriganville. So if you open this up to that, there's going to be more and more activity, and it's hard to say, well, this day you can't, but this day you can because of activities you guys have permitted going on out there. So I think we should really evaluate the filming use and what that would hinder for not only our facility, but your park. That's all I have.
Thank you.
Brian, thanks for your partnership in bringing those productions to our community.
Oh, it's been our pleasure. I mean, dealing with Nikki and your full permitting process and all of that has been great. We've been able to cut out a lot of the middle permitting services, just dealing directly with Nikki. She understands, and when she doesn't, she calls one of us. We have regular film meetings that she's been a part of, and learning how we operate, learning and meeting location managers so that the next time they want to come out, there's not a service recommending somewhere else. They know to call Nikki direct.
And there's an Apple Plus Shark Girls or Surf Girls?
Surf Girls is coming out next month. That's a series that was shot. That was called Shell at the time. That was the operation, or the show name at the time.
Brian?
Yes.
Ed Obala here. How you doing?
Good, and you?
Good. I have a question for you.
Okay.
Can you just be a little more specific in terms of how it's hindering your operation, just so I can understand?
Sure. From noise is one thing. The drones, as their propellers are working, they are loud. Our microphones, a mosquito sounds like a 747, so we pick up all of that. In addition to that, we have a lot of talent that's on campus at any given time. And the minute they're shooting outdoors, whether it's on our boardwalk set or our business district or our cabins or anywhere else around property, and all of a sudden drones start flying over, talent has to retreat back because they don't want known who's necessarily on campus at all times. So we had a situation about a month and a half ago where a drone was hovering over us for quite some time. The show ended up pulling out of the back lot and moving into the stages just to get away from it. These drones are getting bigger. Cameras are getting bigger that are on them. And these are recreational drones. They're not just the commercial drones that we use.
So, Brian?
Yes.
So I understand the second part. On the first part, as far as the noise, are you having to alter the way you're doing things, or is it adding something to how you have to conduct your business?
Well, like I said, it's very similar to the second side of that, where we're having to either pause or start over again. So the clients that are on campus, it becomes more of a hindrance for them than anything. Not to say that they don't occasionally keep going, but depends on the size, the noise, how close they are to us. And then as their battery life wears out, we see them either head back towards the park or whatever. It's just convenient to be in the park. They can kind of park along trees. I mean, like I said, this video will show where this guy was, and this is now on YouTube. And so a lot of our clients are concerned with not only the noise, but their protective rights of what their
shows are or whatever. And in Hollywood, you don't have this issue as much. So we're out in the country, we're out in a great area of Simi, and you know, this is something that we're having to deal with, not just the park, but if you open it up to that, now recreational use is more and more and more. And then they know, oh, well look, if we just go over here a little bit, now we can see a lot more things than just trees and nature.
All right, thank you for explaining that.
This video, you have a, can we look at it tonight, or is it?
It might be easy if he sends it to Dan, for Dan to send it to us later.
All right, I'm fine with that. I just like to see it.
I was just thinking how we could see it.
Yeah, I know, I was wondering that. Yeah, have send it to Dan and we'll take a look.
And it seems we have a problem, irrelevant of what we do with this ordinance regarding the core event tonight, because they're not supposed to be using the drones there right now. And so we're going to have to deal with that, or we should deal with that, because they're not allowed to be used right now.
Correct, but the minute the recreational users know that that's a place to go,
Well, that's
now
what
you
I'm
have
saying.
a handful of drones there.
Right. I don't want to compound a problem.
I understand.
Okay, so you'll send it to Dan and Dan can send it to us. Okay? Works for me. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes.
I'm open to, when we get to a board member discussion, discussing Corriganville specifically.
Yeah.
But just as a reminder, there's only so much we can do as a park district. The exact same thing could happen. Somebody could park on the street right there and do the exact same thing. That doesn't mean there can't be a solution for that, but that might be the city helping out with that situation. But that situation is outside of our control if it's parking along this, on Smith Road right there.
Can I have one more thing?
Okay.
Yeah, so when we have had to call the police out, when they're in the park, it's your jurisdiction, not the city. So that's kind of the issue we have. It's something that if we can help accommodate it one way, then it'll help the other way. And if these other parks are open to them, at least there's a place that they can go that may not impact not only businesses, but there's homes there, there's a train line there, there's other things that could be impacted by a bunch of drones flying around.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, I just want to emphasize what Brian Dennert was saying to Brian Gordon. Yeah, I mean, one of the things everyone has to understand here, all we can even attempt to control is what happens on the Park District property. If someone's not on the Park District property, that's going to be completely out of our control. And I just think that's something that everybody needs to understand here. So.
Right. Yep. That's true. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Liz Full. Wait, your turn, Doug.
Liz, she was talking to the
Liz,
dog.
I was talking to the dog, not you. Come on up.
Okay. I was very interested in hearing about the fire, adding that on, as a consideration. And then, so that's just my vote on that. But also, I have the same concerns that Elaine had about a couple of the choices that you have on your list. And as far as fire, and I just would like you to consider that too when you're considering your choices. And lastly, I'm not quite sure where the one choice that is the Arroyo in Tierra Hada. I wondered where that is, where that location is, because I am a horse person. I'm very happy that you went ahead and are considering that, but I'm wondering whether you're considering the Arroyo and the fact that it's a nesting area and that there's some habitat that might be impacted by having drones there. I'm not sure, because I don't know where that is. So if you can explain to us where that is, I'd really appreciate it. That's all.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Diane Gideon.
I guess you know who I am, Diane Gideon. On behalf of Montgomery Ranch, myself personally, I'd like to thank the entire board for your due diligence in this not so easy process, and visiting it, revisiting it, visiting it again, or revisiting it again. I might be putting the cart before the horse, if you'll pardon the pun here, because you haven't voted on it yet, but I would particularly like to thank Ms. Freeman for your carrying the torch for us. It's not gone unnoticed. Thank you for your due diligence. Thank you for keeping the point alive. And we in the equestrian community, as much as I've been able to review where we are to date, are extremely pleased. Nothing's perfect. We have to give and take anytime you're got some type of a situation like this, but I think that the board has listened, and we're much appreciative of that. As I mentioned, we have some people that have some additional concerns, and again, it was public safety for the equestrians, and fire was our main thrust. So just wanted to let you know, and Elaine, thank you so much for hanging in there with us.
Okay, I have a pink card from Brenda Chu. Brenda, are you here, and do you want to speak? No, okay. All right, I could read what she says here into the record, if that's okay. Okay, subject, no drones near the arroyo. Comments? This is a bird feeding and nesting area. A downed drone caused the abandonment of 1,500 eggs at the Bolsa Chica Reserve. Dr. Dane Cooper submitted data on the impact of drones on wildlife on 3/24/22, which I think I recall. And there's a document here which is attached, which we should probably also note and get in the record. 1,500 eggs waiting to hatch, and the drone crashed, and I guess they didn't hatch. Abandoned. Okay. All right, let's move to Zoom unless there's anyone else. There's one more. Thank you. Dave? Oh, Doug.
Sorry.
Okay.
I just had a real quick thing.
All right.
I'm a long time on-road RC racer.
Mm-hmm.
Do not try to put a drone fire out with water. It doesn't do any good.
Oh.
You can watch it on online, whatever, YouTube thing, where fire departments are trying to put out a Tesla with water. It doesn't work. The best thing to use is dirt. Just take dirt and smother it and keep dirt on. That's it.
Okay, thank you. Okay. Anyone else in the room want to speak on this issue? Okay, let's go to Zoom.
I would like to.
Yeah, we're moving to Zoom now. Jim Nagel.
Okay, thank you all. I'm glad, Dan, you brought up the fact about the liability with fire. That was top of the list. But I think the one thing that is missing in all of everything that I've read is that it doesn't alert the drone owner that the liability that it may cause could be a personal liability. You know, most things, there's always a disclaimer, you know, whenever you fly your own risk, you could be liable. There's nothing in there. So when I read through it as like a novice today, I didn't see anything that would scare me. So I think it's very, very important to point out that any situation that creates a liability, the operator could be the first and foremost party to be named. That's one. The second one is that it's my understanding that everybody that's a resident owns their airspace above the residence, but I didn't see anything in there that said, you know, when you're approving drone flying, that it's over only CME Parks and Rec property, not any adjacent residential neighborhood. So that's one of the big concerns I know that came out in the last couple of meetings was the privacy factor, much like the gentleman talked about it over at Corriganville. So I think those two things really need to be enforced and addressed. I've read through the FAA regulations. I looked for flying over individuals, and there was only like 2 little lines, and it didn't cover anything to that effect.
Thank you, Jim. Let's let's see, going down my list here, Sherry Wentworth.
Thank you. First of all, I want to also thank the board of directors for the time and the effort that you've put in and given this important topic of recreational drones in our parks and specific to Oak Park. As many of you know, I'm Sherry Wentworth, and I'm currently on the board, the committee for the Oak Park Parks and Rec. And unfortunately, last week I was out sick with COVID and I wasn't able to attend our committee meeting where drones were discussed. But I wanted to show up tonight and let you know that if I'd been able to attend, this is what I would have shared. It turns out I'm usually in one of the Oak Park parks almost every day of the week. I love to be out of doors. And in the last 3 or 4 months that we've been talking about drones, I've informally talked to about 50 or so residents that I meet at the parks who are using the parks or walking around. And I've asked them whether or not they're for or against recreational drone usage in our parks or the open space bordering our parks. And it's almost unanimous in their opinion. It's thumbs down. Almost no one that I've talked to wants drones in the skies above Oak Park. In fact, there have only been 2 people who've given it a thumbs up. And mostly the reason for the thumbs down are noise and their concerns about privacy. A lot of people bring up that they don't want to be photographed. A few have been concerned about the effect on the wildlife, and then only a handful have mentioned that drones starting wildfires. But the area around the archery range up here is covered in extremely dry grass and brush, and as we've learned from the Woolsey fire, Oak Park is vulnerable to sudden wildfires. We've lost many homes and the insurance costs have skyrocketed because of that. So in closing, if I'd been able to be at last Thursday's meeting, I wanted to let you know that I would have voted no to recreational drone usage in Oak Park. And thank you for your time.
Sherry, I hope you're feeling better.
Thank you. A little bit better every day.
Thank you.
Dan Cooper.
Thanks, folks. Yeah, I was at the meeting with the Oak Park Committee, of which I'm a member, and we voted against any drone use in Oak Park. I wanted to reiterate that, take my hand down. I also expressed that I'm against any drone used in anywhere in Rancho Simi's purview, although I realize that I don't have a say in the matter as I'm not on the Rancho Simi board or its staff. I just wanted to make that clear. We are downwind of Simi Valley. The Woolsey fire in 2018 started in Bell Canyon, and it came through a lot of open space by the time it got to Oak Park, including that which a lot of people would consider Simi Valley. I would like to respectfully remind the board that they have an obligation to protect open space and recreational opportunities. I don't consider drones a recreational activity. I consider them a nuisance, and I think that a lot of the comments in the packet and that you've heard in the last few meetings simply support the fact that they are a nuisance to most people, except for the drone flyer. There's been no community support for drones. I don't think a single person has come out in support of drones, except for a handful of people on the board, which I guess only strengthened the resolve of at least one board member inexplicably. I would just encourage the board to not be afraid to say no to drones. It's a simple thing. We won't hold it against you, regardless of what your support was in the past. I think it's becoming very clear that they're a liability, they're a fire hazard, and they're just an extreme annoyance. And that concludes my comments. Thank you.
Danielle Stelter. Danielle?
I don't have any comments at this point.
Thank you.
Except that I do agree that I would prefer no drones, because to me it doesn't make any sense to even offer any opportunity for a fire when there's no water. It's just pointless to me.
Thank you. David Potschun.
Sorry, David. Staff.
That's our David. Going down, JL Diaz.
Good evening, everybody. My name is JL Diaz, and I'm part of the Oak Park committee that we discussed the drone topic in the last meeting. And I'm one of those individuals who believe that there are some advantages for having drones on some part of the parks. And a primary reason for this is I would say, if you would like to have a living as a drone pilot, okay, you get paid, for example, in the range of 100 to 150 bucks per hour. And there are a lot of applications for drone photography or videography. This includes also the being in Hollywood, in the center of the cinema and in the movie industry. There are a lot of people who make a living in flying drones and taking footages using drones. So, all of these need people, a place to practice. And so we're not saying that, you open up the whole park space for flying drones, and as it is right now, right? You're selecting a few spaces for drone flyers or drone enthusiasts, to get their practice, to enjoy themselves. But we should find some place for them to go through, the exercise of getting the experience, so that just in case one time, this could be a source of living for them, or even saving the country in the future, just in case there's some military activity. So I just want to put that out there, and also just to let you know, right nowadays kids are always on their devices, right? And if there's a chance for them to go out and just explore and play something else outside of their cell phones and devices, and maybe flying drones is the one that can get them out there. Let's allow them. Let's give them a chance to explore this new technology, because in the future, this could be something for them to make money off, or I just want to mention that this is there's some positive things that can be born out of flying drones. That's all. Thank you.
Harry Medved.
Hello. Maybe lower my hand. First of all, I want to say we are so grateful to the staff for all that we've done for Oak Park. And I always like to go back and look at the mission statement. I mentioned this last time. The mission statement of Rancho Simeon Park Recreation and Park District is committed to providing safe parks, promoting a healthy lifestyle through recreational activities and amenities, preserving open space, trails, and community history. So JL Diaz, with all due respect, I don't see the word education in there anywhere. I think this was a nice idea to keep kids off the streets and get them something to do. I think it has nothing to do with Rancho Simeon's mission statement. We are not here, the school districts have not brought this up and asked for Rancho Simeon to get involved. No one that I know of, until you guys brought it up, and I've heard from JL and a few others, have been pushing for this and have been saying we absolutely need this. I don't hear any parents saying that. And I will say that if you do something new for the district and for the kids, like look at what LA County Parks and Recreation did for Griffith Park. They actually closed off one of the drives to cars, so it would only be bikes and pedestrians. And what they said is, what these things do is they make for recreational spaces a lot more welcoming for folks on foot, for folks on bikes and so forth. It's actually to accentuate the park's original purpose as a respite away from the noise and the activity of the city. Drones don't do that. Drones actually bring the city to us. JL, you might think that this introduces kids to the open space. I think it introduces kids to more devices. I don't see this as one of the mission statements, recreational activities that promote a healthy lifestyle. In fact, most of the teenagers who use drones that I've spoken to love to share the footage on social media, so it just gets them more into technology. One of the reasons why I also am against it is because we'll lose money. The district constantly needs to make money. Corriganville is a cash cow. You just heard from Brian at Allied Studios. I talked to a location manager who said he would have no problem with drones as long as the drone flyers were completely trained by the FAA and know what they're doing. Well, they don't. You are gonna have paparazzi looking to get Leonardo DiCaprio on camera. People will stop coming to Corriganville and film there, and that's a huge loss of money for us. And then finally, the masses. I don't believe the masses really want this. I haven't heard anything like the backlash I've heard on the drones. I'm surprised you guys are still considering it. I think Corriganville is a park that was given to us, from my understanding, with an agreement with the state of California, California State Parks. I think they might want to take it back. I don't want to lose Corriganville. I think we have an agreement there that we can keep it as open space. So just please consider, whenever you're talking about parks in the Rancho Simi area, whether it's Simi Valley or elsewhere, these are parks that are surrounded by open space. How do you say, well, we're just going to do it in the parking lot, but we're not going to let the drone up onto the trail?
Mr. Medved, your time's approaching its end.
Yes, well, the final thing I'll just say is that you guys say, hey, we can't control what people do. Well, you can stop promoting it. You guys, they had this problem the last month and a half. It's for a reason. We've been promoting it. Please stop promoting the use of drones in Rancho Simi. Thank you.
Michael?
Yeah, hi, good evening, folks. This is Michael Honeymar. I'm a resident of Oak Park. I've lodged my strenuous objection to drones over the last several board meetings and Oak Park meetings, principally because of fire and privacy reasons, but mainly fire. We live in a high wildfire area. That is just, those are just the facts. Whether we want to or not, we do. I mean, now we have to do a real estate disclosure when we're going to sell our homes, making sure the new homeowner knows that we live in an area where your house may burn down. There are known attendant fire risks with drones. There's plenty of evidence of that in the record over these last several meetings. So I guess it baffles me on some level why Simi Valley and Oak Park need to be sort of, the home for drones. It just doesn't make sense to me. Also, the land is largely contiguous between Oak Park and Simi Valley. So if a hillside burns in Oak Park, it's going to reach Simi Valley and vice versa. Also, the genesis of the whole proposal for drones is rumored to have been one board member's whim. This wasn't it definitely was not a response to a swell of public demand or community interest. And that we're so far down and it's taken so much of staff's time. Because of that, on top of the fire issue, again, to me that's troublesome. Also, there seems to be some sort of argument that because drones are allowed on property that is not controlled by Rancho Simi, it should be allowed on the property that Rancho Simi does control. I've heard that at a few meetings, and that again just doesn't make much sense to me. And again, we heard from that studio that at least if it's not on district property, the police can come and chase people away. Regarding Corriganville, as Mr. Medved said, this is now costing revenue. There's not many streams of revenue for RSRPD. And to possibly alienate one of them and Hollywood in general, again, because of some whimsical desire for drones in a high fire area, doesn't make sense. And finally, Oak Park has this new fire safe council. My understanding is that Mr. Diaz is the chair of that. And again, given the known attendant fire risks, I don't understand how he can be a pro drone on the one hand in a wildfire area and also be the chair of the Oak Park Fire Safe Council. Thank you.
So can I address that?
No, Jail, just the time for public comment.
Okay, that's fine, because my name has been mentioned several times, so.
Yes.
Dan?
Yeah.
May I ask him to address that? He's kind of been attacked by a couple people. I personally just like to hear what he has to say.
Yeah, board's prerogative, Director.
Right. Thank you.
Right, so wildfire, if you look at it, there's several components before you really start it, right? These two have some dry area, and then, dry area in terms of like the fuel and the environment. Also, you need wind, okay? So if, for example, it is a wildfire season, you may pass a policy that no drone flying can be done during this time. So that is easily resolved. But the rest of the times, if you have wildfire and it spread, you have bigger issues, because that means all the abatement programs, all the facilities that we're trying to do to make sure that it doesn't spread is not applied. So if you look at in Google wildfire caused by drone, there is none, or probably there are like a couple of example, but they are like from commercial event. We're using a commercial drone, but if you have like a small plane that drops from the sky, it will be cushioned by this grass that is on the floor or on the ground. So yeah, there's no evidence that drones can spread wildfire.
I mean, so do we get counter rebuttals now? I mean, how does this work? I didn't think this was...
Dan, the only reason I asked for Jail to have a chance is because he was specifically called out by a couple of the people. I just wanted to hear what he had to say. I mean, I've heard both sides of the argument. I just wanted him to have a chance because a couple of the speakers specifically mentioned him by name.
Thank you. It's the board's prerogative on questions and answers of the speakers.
Okay. Right.
Okay, Chair, is there anybody else on Zoom that hasn't spoken that would like to speak to the issue? Seeing none, Chair, I do have one comment for the record that was submitted via email. It says, I am unable to attend the meeting tonight, but just wanted to say thank you to the board for listening to the horseback riders, hikers, and others regarding the drones in the Park District open space that could cause numerous problems and disturb an otherwise peaceful and enjoyable ride or walk in our beautiful parks and open space. I'm sure there are a number of places to fly drones that wouldn't cause accidental brush fires or disrupt wildlife habitat. Thanks again for being cautious and considerate in your decision on this subject. Suzanne Flazok, resident of Brattle Path.
Okay. All right, so we're bringing it back to the board for comments. That sound right? Okay.
Back for deliberation, yes.
Deliberation, there you go. Okay.
To start the conversation, the board report in front of us is to restrict the use of drones. No location in Oak Park is listed. So if we vote tonight on the recommendation to restrict the use of drones, there is no location in Oak Park that would be allowed. In a park, obviously people, if they park on the street and fly over the park, that's not outside of our control. And in Same Valley, I'm good with the recommendation of removing Corganville from the list. The reason specifically is the location of the Allied Studios, being a good partner with the film industry. I know that it makes it a little bit easier to locate where someone is flying from. And so I personally would say we'll still have places for people to fly a drone if they choose to, but I could see the value of removing Corganville from that list.
Okay. Elaine?
I want to first thank staff for all the work putting all of this together, and all of our options and the resolution. From the very beginning, as the board will remember, I was not in favor of drones on our public facilities, our parks, open space, or anywhere for that matter. And at the last board meeting, I did indicate that maybe there were some locations that would be acceptable. But after reading the staff report and mulling it over, I'm going to come back to my original thinking, which is I just don't see any benefit for us to allow drones in any of our open space or parks. I think we're opening ourselves up for more conflict and more issues. And for the gentleman from Corrigan, from the film industry, maybe we should give a number for him to call for our ranger, because if the CBPD won't intervene, then he needs to have somebody to talk to intervene. Dan, perhaps you know the right person, but long-term and looking it over, I am not in support of the drones in any of the facilities. Okay. Thank you, staff, for all the effort.
Ed or Josh, do you want to chime in? Either one of you? Josh?
I'll do it.
Okay.
Right. So the first comment I'll make is it may not be a recreational activity that a lot of people who are in the audience tonight approve of, but drones are a recreational activity. Specifically on the Corriganville issue, I agree with Director Dennert. I appreciate the comments from Brian Gordon, who I haven't heard from or seen in a while. And because of that, I would remove Corriganville from the list. That was some extremely helpful insight, and so I concur with Director Dennert on that comment. Other than that, I'm fine with going forward with the locations that we've chosen. The one thing everybody has to understand is, to the extent that we can even control anything, I think Dan's mentioned it, legal counsel's mentioned it in the past, it's the takeoffs and landings on Park District property. We have no control over anything, any takeoffs or landings outside of Park District property. The fact of the matter is whatever we do is probably not going to change the situation one way or the other much, but just out of general principle, I'm fine with the way we have the ordinance drafted, other than I would eliminate Corriganville based on everything that we've heard tonight.
Okay, Josh?
Yeah, and I'll add that I agree with Brian Benner and Ed, that Corriganville should be taken off, the rationale both of them bring to it, and also add that I appreciate staff's work on this and the creation within the policy and the ordinance to make it flexible, that should the board, should the community, should staff see further issues or further comments similar to Allied Studios, that this allows us the flexibility to be adaptable, which was the original purpose of the ordinance, and the change was to be flexible and open to community. So I want to thank everybody for coming, and those who shared comments for sharing their comments. And other than that, I think Corriganville should be taken off given the additional information from tonight. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Josh, a few speakers brought up the genesis of this proposal and where it came from.
Sure.
Where did that come from?
Sure, that came from some of my involvement in parks and in the neighborhood that I used to live in, was engaging with drone flyers in that neighborhood who were flying over people's houses and neighborhoods and had no place in which to fly that they felt comfortable, or that they weren't making their neighbors hostile to their every action. There have also been some of the folks over the last 8 months now who have come out in support of it. I also spoke to those individuals, spoke to different people from outside of our community on what their local neighborhoods did. And from that, I realized reviewing our ordinances, there wasn't clarity upon what was allowed or not allowed when it came to drones. That a lot of the language was archaic and referred to use terms from 20 years ago. And also knowing that drones were gaining popularity, the thought was, just like skateboarding sometimes still is, but with 20, 30 years ago was viewed as a menace. We also have a skate park now, and that allows for community recreation, and it also allows for community development that can self-police. And as J.L. Diaz mentioned, it also allows development of professional skills. And there was time I was talking to some of the people from outside of our community who professionally utilize drones, and they shared how in their areas they were highlighting the natural beauty in their area, and how it made some people in their community pay more attention to their hillsides or their natural environment. And I thought that was a great thing. And I think, fire safety and protection of our open space is vital. And I think in a safe and manner that's flexible like this would allow, those who do want to fly drones to highlight how beautiful Simi Valley and Oak Park are and highlight these parks. And it's one of those, if it ends up not working, then our policy is flexible and we can always adapt and change. But that comes back to the origin of the mention, engagement, conversations with the community, and engagements with people who do fly outside of our community, where the rules are different than what they have been here.
Okay, thank you.
And then I could probably do this with a nod. And just a real quick question. I could probably do this nod. Brian from Allied Studios, now that you've heard that Corriganville has been removed from that list, there was a different question that was brought up, but it was about flying over homes. I think a speaker mentioned it. I know that we can't control flying over homes. That's outside of our control. But are drone users allowed to do that?
What, are drone users? The airspace question.
Like fly around a neighborhood?
As far as I know, that would be regulated by the FAA. As far as I know, they are allowed to do that. I mean, if they're trespassing, you do own the space above your property. Whether you can regulate it and whether you can sue for trespass, I don't know that you can.
The reason I ask that is this allows us to direct people that are flying over homes, even though we don't control that, to a place that's not over homes. To say your neighbor's flying a drone and you don't like it and you talk to them, you can say, hey, you could go fly at these locations. Since there's not much you could do to stop them, at least you could recommend a place for them to go. And with what I was asking about the speaker, Brian, earlier, we could also put up signs in Corriganville with the information of who to call, since it's not allowed there. Would that help you out?
No, I mean, whether it's reaching out to Dan or Nikki or whatever, they've been responsive once we've caught on to where they're going. It's just if they're in the park and you guys allow it in the park, then it becomes more of an issue for not only the rangers, but for us.
Well, the good news for you then is you've heard at least 3 board members say we want to remove Corriganville from the list. But in addition to that, now that you've heard 3 board members say we want to remove it, my question for you was, there was a video that you offered to share with us, but being that Corriganville is already removed from the list, it would seem a moot point. But if you think we should review it before we decide, we could take a break and watch the video or figure out how to play it.
I emailed it to Dan, and I think I forwarded it to you too. So it's up to you what you guys would like to do.
But I feel as 3 of us have said, let's remove Corriganville from the list. Doesn't seem as necessary.
Right.
Okay.
Chair, can I just add one comment?
Sure.
I had mentioned that one of the things I would change is to remove Corriganville from the list. I'm a little unclear still how it would be done, but I know, Dan, you mentioned in your presentation it's come up. If there is some language or some provision on the fire prevention, fire hazard issue, I would have that included as well, that you mentioned in your presentation initially. So I would, if that's a change that would be needed for the ordinance, then I would be in favor of that.
Yeah, thank you, Director. And Chair, if I could just summarize the clarification regarding the content of the policy, if it's...
Yeah, I have a few questions too, but go ahead.
And I have a question of the attorney as well. Yeah. So what I've got so far is the policy as presented. We're going to remove Corriganville from the location. I did myself item G, Arroyo in the Tierra Hada area. I think that could be better defined as just the Tierra Hada open space area, and we could strike Arroyo. So I'd recommend that amendment to the policy. The third item would be to include the provisions regarding fire that I read into the record earlier this evening, that we add those 4 or 5 provisions to the policy. And then the last one I had was regarding liability, Mr. Nagel's idea. I'm going to ask the attorney, should we put something in the policy that expresses that the liability falls with the drone flyer, if that's okay?
I haven't seen that in a policy. I would have to look to see whether it's appropriate to include it in a policy. I personally have no issue with it. I would just want to see whether or not that would be an appropriate thing to include.
So I would recommend that when we do the policy, that following council review, if it's legally okay, that we add that provision as well. So that's the direction I think I heard relative to the content of the policy and the changes.
Yeah.
Hey, sorry. Chair, could I follow up on that with Dan?
Sure.
Dan, even if it's questioned if we can add it to the policy itself, with how the policy is presented, is it possible for us to also present additional materials that are not part of the policy, but fire safety and other good neighbor not policies, but good neighbor issues that we could tack on?
Yeah, like a flyer that we give drone users to say, stay away from equestrians and why, and liability and fire. That's not exactly a policy, but...
We can do an educational piece in addition to the policy, if the board would like.
And then rangers could have it if they encounter somebody, they could make them aware of guidelines.
Yeah, good idea.
Okay.
I think
that'd be great. I have a few questions. What exactly is the city policy on drones? Do they have one? Anybody know?
I don't believe they do. We looked at that very early on, and I don't think the city has tackled the issue yet.
Well, their turn is coming. Second question is, does anybody know is there ever actually been a case where a drone started a wildfire or conversely was able to sense when an alert emergency personnel? Does anybody know of anything like that?
To my knowledge, and based on the public comment we've heard over the last several meetings, I think if you research it, and this isn't scientific, there are 2 or 3 instances across the country where it's been documented on, I guess, by a newspaper in terms of kind of a scientific data analysis. We don't have that.
Okay, I'm just curious. And I know I'm asking people to get a permit. I know the consensus was we didn't want to do that, as I said earlier, but making it really clear that people understand, that the liability for any damage rests with the person using the drone, not us, and the wildfire safety provisions. We have to make sure that people really know those things. And yes, I want to take Corriganville off the list as well. I am leaning toward yes with all those provisions. So one of the reasons making it clear our fire safety provisions and the liability is that it could actually scare off someone who didn't know what they were doing, which wouldn't be the worst thing in the world either. So that would increase odds of safety.
So Chair, I might recommend, if board members are ready, to make a motion that we take each of the 3 recommended items individually. So the ordinance, and then the resolution with the policy as amended, and then the third would be the direction to clean up or clarify the definition of filming in Rule 33 of the ordinance.
Okay. Would someone like to make a motion on the first
ordinance? I'll make a motion of staff recommendation, or do I need?
I think I'll look to the attorney. It's a second reading, so I think we need a motion to waive reading of the title and waive further reading, and then a motion and then to adopt. So,
okay.
Mr. Gray, to clarify, I believe your motion would be to ask for a reading of the ordinance, move further reading, and then adoption of the ordinance, and then Mr. Hamlet will read the title of the ordinance, or I will, yes.
Fortunately, I don't have it in front of me.
So let me read a title of the ordinance for you, Mr. Gray.
Thank you.
Did we get a second on that? Did we get?
No, I think we gotta do, we're still trying to frame the motion, so we're supposed to read, we read the title of the ordinance, and then Josh would waive further reading and move approval of the ordinance.
Okay.
My apologies. Ordinance number 3, amended an ordinance of the Rancho Simi Recreation and Park District Board of Directors establishing rules and regulations governing the use of district parks and facilities and participation in district programs. So, Mr. Gray, you would move further reading of the move to waive further reading of the ordinance and move adoption of the ordinance.
I'll move further reading and approval of the ordinance.
Okay, do I hear a second? Is it really dying for lack of a second?
Okay.
Okay. What do we do now?
That means that our original ordinance is still in play that allows drones in all of the open space.
Dan, I didn't.
Oh, well, no, I don't think we went, what?
Dan, I didn't do that because I had a question. That motion, would that cover, that would allow for those locations we mentioned?
That's the next motion.
Okay,
This
that's
is just to change the ordinance.
Okay, thank you.
So that's the resolution, that's the next motion. This
Okay,
is
now
strictly banning drones in the open space and then allowing locations by policy.
I'll second that.
Okay, good. Roll call, please. Thank you.
Director Avila,
Aye.
Director Dennert,
Yes.
Director Freeman,
Yes.
Vice Chair Gray,
Aye.
and Chair O'Brien.
Yes.
That motion carries, unanimous vote.
Okay. Now we're going to move to approve the resolution.
Which adopt the resolution
Adopt
which
the
approves
resolution.
the policy. So if I could just summarize that one time. So the motion would be to move adoption of the resolution approving the policy as amended. The amendments to the policy are to remove Corriganville from the list of allowed locations, to clarify the language identifying the Tirahata area, to add the provisions related to fire safety and prevention, and to allow the district council and I to research the liability issue and whether or not we can include that in the policy.
Okay. Do I hear a motion?
I'll move adoption of resolution 2038 as amended.
Do I hear a second? I'll second it.
Before we vote on that, I wanted to discuss briefly, speaker tonight asked about the location in the Arroyo and the Tirahata property. Dan, do you want to describe to the speaker where that is roughly?
Yeah, I think the description's a little, so at the very east end of the Arroyo, there's the bike trail, it's paved.
The west end?
I'm sorry, the very west end, it's paved. Off the end of the paved trail, there's open space there. I think it's about 225 acres. We refer to it as the Tirahata Park area open space. We own that property there. So this would be that location, which is at the end of the Arroyo at the west end in that 225 acres of open space that the district owns in that area.
Is that the area with the landfill?
Yes.
To clarify, there's a closed landfill on district property.
That includes the property that has the landfill on. And I would describe it as near the Arroyo, not in the Arroyo or whatever here, so it would be near the Arroyo.
Well, the reason I bring it up is there was an expressed concern earlier about that location. I'm fine with removing it from the list. I don't think many drone users would use it because it's kind of out of the way to figure out where to park. And so, being that it's an open space, and we've heard feedback on that, although I doubt very many people would realize that there's a district-owned landfill and say flying over a landfill is wrong. But even at that, there's other parts to it that I don't see much use to it, so I'm fine with removing it, but that would...
It would be, I think, Josh, did you make them? It would be up to Josh amending his motion to also remove item G, the Tirahata area, from the policy.
Yeah, I would say I'm fine with that additional amendment to remove item G, the Arroyo and the Tierra Rajada area.
Okay.
I'll make that as part of my motion.
All right. Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Roll call, please.
I don't think we've got a second yet.
Oh,
I'll second that.
okay.
I think Kate seconded.
That's all right. You can second it. That's fine.
Sorry.
Roll call, please.
Director Avila?
Aye.
Director Dennert?
Yes.
Director Freeman?
No.
Vice Chair Gray?
Aye.
And Chair O'Brien?
Yes.
That motion carries with a 4-1 vote, with Director Freeman voting no.
Okay, Chair, and then finally, just direction from the board to clarify the definition in Rule 33, which is related to commercial and educational uses. We'd like to just get direction from you to bring that back at a future meeting, the clarification.
Okay. I'll make that motion.
I'll second that motion.
Roll call, please.
Director Avila?
Aye.
Director Dennert?
Yes.
Director Freeman?
Yes.
Vice Chair Gray?
Aye.
And Chair O'Brien?
Yes.
That motion carries with a unanimous vote.
Okay. That's it.
That concludes the item.
Chair, can we take a 5-minute break?
Yeah, we can take a 5-minute break, 5-minute recess. We'll be back here at 8:11. Back in session, 8:11 and football minutes, I guess, 8:18. Okay, we're going to go back to item 7D, public hearing on the Rancho Simi Recreation and Park District annual budget and planning and maintenance projects for fiscal year 2022 and 23.
Thank you, Chair. I'll ask the operator to put up a brief PowerPoint for the benefit of the public. This is a public hearing.
All right.
Thank you, Chair. Let me just get to my item here in our package. That's before the... I've got to go backwards here. Thank you, Chair. As the board's fully aware, we've already had a budget workshop with public input regarding our preliminary budget, and we also adopted the preliminary budget on June 15th, where the public could review our budget and give any input regarding it. As a part of our process, we have 2 public hearings once the board adopts the preliminary budget, one which we hold in Simi Valley, which is this meeting, and one in Oak Park, and then final adoption of the budget in late December, early October. So with that, the board adopted this is just our agenda tonight. We'll review the preliminary budget, the general fund, Simi Valley capital improvement projects, Oak Park and Gulf. This is the summary of the district's budget, the all funds budget. We have total revenues proposed in the preliminary budget of $59.7 million and total expenditures of $59.7 million. I would note that the board has adopted a balanced budget. This is in the report, but just for information, this is a depiction of changes that were made between last year's budget and this year's budget. It identifies areas of revenue increases based on various items, and it identifies areas that the board has included additional items in the budget. This is a list of the capital improvement projects that are appropriated and proposed in the preliminary budget for 22-23. Just leave that up for a few minutes so folks can see that list. This is a list of the capital improvement projects that are recommended for appropriation in the preliminary budget, or included in the preliminary budget. This is a list of capital improvement projects proposed at the Simi Hills Golf Course that are included in the preliminary budget. A couple of things I just wanted to note that we did ask the based on board direction, some funding for trailhead kiosk rehabilitation. And we also included money for the damage at the gym. We had to budget the insurance revenue and the appropriation to do that, to fix the floor at Rancho Santa Susana Gymnasium. I also wanted to note, although we're not making changes tonight, that'll come with the final budget, and we've talked about these previously, at least two of them. We are contemplating the benefits of going to a third ranger position in lieu of part-time positions. We used to have 3 full-time ranger positions in the district. We currently had 2. So we are evaluating that at the staff level. It would include, the cost would be net neutral, meaning we would remove part-time positions and create a third full-time position with the same amount of funds. So we may bring that back to the board as part of your final budget. Secondly, the board will recall that we reviewed a request from the school district in Oak Park to put in sand volleyball courts. The board gave direction that they were okay with doing that, but you asked that we review that with the Oak Park Committee. We did review that at their meeting last year, and last week, and they were supportive of constructing volleyball courts in Oak Park at Deer Hill Park, so that will be added to the budget in the final budget. And then lastly, I wanted to note that we've been talking about a need for repairs at the pool, both to the pool facility, the structure itself, the building. We did get put on notice by the county that we need to do some improvements at the pool for the deck. There's some cracking and various things going on the deck. So Mr. Nakaoka and I are evaluating whether or not we need to do a portion, we need to expedite the portion of the project which would be the decking portion. So we'd probably do a 2-phase where we do the decking portion now instead of later, and then we look at rehabbing the building as a second phase later. So I may be asking you to appropriate some funds to do the deck portion of the pool project when we recommend the final budget. That concludes staff report. We need to open the public hearing and take comment on the budget. We will have a similar public hearing in Oak Park on August 3rd, and then we'll have final adoption on October 6th. So the board's role is to take some public hearing and get input and direct us on any changes you may want in the budget. That concludes staff's report.
Okay, let's open the public hearing at 8:24. Is there any comments from the public? Any
Can
comments?
we adjust the screen so that, thank you.
Is there anyone on Zoom?
Is there anybody on Zoom that would like to provide public comment on the district's budget?
Alex, is that on Zoom? I see this screen here. Is there anybody that's on Zoom but not on that screen? Is there a second screen?
No,
That's it. Okay.
Close the public hearing.
Closing public hearing at 8:25. Okay.
Dan,
Any board questions or comments?
Yeah, sorry. Danny Sue brought up the Deer Hill sign cost.
Yeah, so I think about a year, maybe more than a year ago now, the community garden uses our property out in Oak Park, and they had come forth with a proposal to put shade on the property. There was 2 components to it. It was the cost of the shade structure, and then because it's a permanent structure, there was a permitting cost. We did take that to the Oak Park Committee, and the Oak Park Committee voted to not approve that or recommend it to the board for inclusion in the budget. So I think if Danny Sue would like to reconsider that, it needs to go to the Oak Park Committee first. And then it would be up to the Oak Park Committee whether or not they want to agendize that and reconsider it. But it was considered. You guys did not put it in, and because the Oak Park Committee didn't recommend that you do that. So I would suggest that Danny Sue should put it back on the agenda for the Oak Park Committee if she would like to do that.
And as a part of that, she mentioned the cost of the Deer Hill sign. Was that accurate?
I do not know that. Are we doing a new sign at Deer Hill? I don't think there's.
Yes, but at Deer Hill, yes.
Okay, and what's the cost of that, Wayne? In the
Concrete sign, about 18,000.
18,000. I think she said 175. She might have transposed the line items.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
I think the proposal is 18,000, not the number that she had indicated on the meeting. or in the.
So if Danny wants to bring that back, and I don't see her anymore, I could call her if you like, or do you want to communicate that to her?
It's kind of, well, yeah, it's really, I guess any one of them could put in an agenda. So the committee's already decided it.
Yeah.
It's kind of up to them if they want to reconsider it, I guess, so.
So she could.
So I can, yes.
I'm sorry, were you done with that part, or?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I can work with the committee to see if they want to re-agendize it for October.
I just want to confirm one thing. The way our budget stands right now, we're in a position that if the BMX track met other conditions and was ready to move forward, our budget is set to be able to do that in short order, correct?
Correct.
Okay, just wanted to confirm.
It's not, it hasn't been appropriated as a line item, but should the board want to move forward with that, we can do that in October potentially if you'd like, or sooner. If I could just comment on that, I have had initial discussions with the city manager, not the city council, regarding that. The city is open to the discussion about the old site. We want to talk through some other things relative to the site, so him and I are in conversation. We are going to have a formal meeting probably the week after next, not a formal meeting, but a meeting with him and I to advance that conversation a little bit more the week after next. So I am in discussion on that site.
There was I know you said it was at the staff level, but I'm supportive of the idea of a third ranger instead of more part-time. I like that idea. It brings us closer to community policing, so I like that. And Zach, I propose a new trailhead kiosk for 2 different reasons. Some of them are in bad shape and there's a lot of them, so it's more than just like a Boy Scout project. And then the second thing is re-envisioning them, like, of course there's gotta be rules and safety posted, but also welcoming you a map. We already have maps, something to encourage people to get out and exercise. And I began looking at a kiosk in other areas and what it does, because the vision is to get people to exercise and get outdoors. But Zach, you sent me some awesome ones. I appreciate that. Yeah. I don't even know how he did it, but he already had just a bunch of things texted to me and allowed me to start dreaming of how welcoming they could be. So I knew they could be better. I didn't realize some of those were very creative. I think it was Agora.
Correct.
Yeah, that was awesome. If any board member wants to know more, Zach's got some pictures of them.
Okay, great. Anyone else? Elaine, you have any comments? Josh, how about you? Any comments?
I was just going to say, Zach, if you could pass those along. I have no other comments.
Okay.
Chair, I see even that we've closed the public comment in the public hearing, but I see Mr. Medved has his hand raised.
Okay. Oh, all right.
It's not a comment, just an offer. I'm happy to talk to Danny Sue and relay the information to her.
Thank you, Harry.
You're welcome.
Okay. Ed, what about you? Do you have any comments, questions? Any more?
I asked my question, it was about the BMX track.
Okay, great. All right, so we can do a...
No direction.
No direction.
Comments, and we'll have another public hearing in Oak Park on August 3rd.
Great, okay. Item 9, new business, 9A. Approval of permit agreements for use of recreation facilities with CBU Soccer and Simi Valley Girls Softball League.
Thank you, Chair. Zach Miller, the Director of Recreation, will provide staff's report.
Good evening, Chair O'Brien, Board of Directors. Tonight I have 2 administrative agreements for your approval. The first is for Simi Youth Soccer, who've requested their continued use of Apollo High School. This permit is issued seasonally and will expire in May of 2023 if it's approved. Because of the variety of teams and sport uses at Apollo High School, this agreement is permitted seasonally instead of an annual permit like other fields and leagues that we get requests for. The second agreement tonight is for the continued use of the Big Sky Softball Complex for the Simi Valley Girls Softball League. Simi Valley Girls Softball League original agreement for the use of Big Sky has now expired. So that being said, they will be required to pay a per field use, same as other softball and baseball leagues, consistent with our approved facility fee schedule. The league will also get to use Apollo softball fields when needed, or if the league grows back to a level that requires more fields. The use of the Apollo fields will be charged on an hourly basis should the league need it at this time, and we've spoken with them and they're in agreement with that decision. The Simi Valley Girls Softball League's annual agreement will coincide with the other softball and baseball league permits that are renewed by the board in December going forward. So this permit will be for about 6 months, and then we'll bring it back in December when we do all of the baseball and softball agreements at the same time to approve them together. You have both of the draft agreements for the leagues in your packet this evening. So the recommendation is that you please approve the above mentioned permits for Simi Valley Youth Soccer at Apollo High School, the Simi Institute campus, and for Simi Valley Girls Softball League at Big Sky Park, and authorize the district manager to execute the agreements on behalf of Rancho Simi Recreation and Park District, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
And Zach, I just wanted to emphasize that both leadership groups of both leagues are in concurrence with these agreements.
Correct. We've spoken to both and negotiated these with them prior to bringing them to you tonight.
I have a question about Apollo Fields. If you don't have the answer tonight, you can just email me later. Approximately how many fields total is that? And I know there's 2 sides of the street.
So the soccer league uses the site on the Simi Institute. So there's about three full-size soccer fields. They use it in a variety of ways depending on the size of the team. So they've split it multiple ways, but essentially there's about 3 full-size soccer fields that they're getting out there for their use.
And then my other question is, it might be more appropriate as a part of the budget, but Wayne might be able to just give me a nod. I had mentioned earlier for Simi Valley Girls Softball, the striping of the parking lot. Is that something that maybe not this year, but the following year? The status of it needing to be done?
Ryan, are you talking about Big Sky or
Big
Apollo?
Sky.
Yeah.
Big Sky's been restriped.
Oh, well, that's progress. Thank you.
More than one there.
And then Zach, last question for Apollo. How's the permitting going for other sports besides soccer? Like what other leagues or teams, activities are using it?
So we've had a variety of requests. I believe that when the fields were kind of acquired that we intended for them to be multi-use and multi-sport. So we have had some lacrosse use out there. NFL flag football has expressed some interest in being on those fields. So we're just working on the best use, but basically this gives us the flexibility to put as many different uses on that field as possible throughout the course of the year.
That's it.
Okay, any other questions? All right, who would like to make a motion?
Is
I'll
there
move.
public comment?
A second.
Oh, yeah, I guess we should ask for public comment. Any public would like to comment on this? I'm not hearing any. Okay, who made the motion?
I'll move approval of staff recommendation.
Okay,
Second.
all right, roll call please.
Director Avila,
Aye.
Director Dennert,
Yes.
Director Freeman,
Yes.
Vice Chair Gray,
Aye.
and Chair
Gray.
O'Brien.
Oh, yes.
The motion
Okay.
carries with unanimous vote.
All right, item 9B, approval of resolution number 2039, modifying district policy manual, chapter 2 personnel, section 800, 900, and 1500 regarding employee benefits.
Ms. Pennington will provide the report.
Thank you, Chair and Board of Directors. As a result of the 2022-23 employee negotiations, an increase of 2 additional days of annual leave have been added for the employees in the Rancho Simi Employee Association who were hired after May 1st, 2010 and have been employed for 1 to 10 years. An increase in the bereavement leave from 3 to 5 days when travel is needed was also agreed upon. That particular benefit we're recommending be extended to all full-time employees. And in addition, a change in the education reimbursement is being proposed to increase from $100 per unit to $200 per unit. It has been 15 years since that has been changed, and tuition expenses have gone up at local colleges and universities in recent years. We've identified these changes in the resolution and on the attachment to the staff report. So at this time, unless there's any questions, we're recommending approval of resolution 2039 and authorization to make these changes in the district's policy manual.
I'll make the motion to approve.
Do I get a second?
Hold on. Don't we?
Okay,
Need to ask for public comment, Chair?
public comment. Yes, would any public like to comment on this issue? Okay, so we have a motion. Is someone second? I'll second.
I'll second.
Okay. All right, roll call, please.
Director Avila,
Aye.
Director Dennert,
Yes.
Director Freeman,
Yes.
Vice Chair Gray,
Aye.
Chair O'Brien.
Yes.
That motion carries with unanimous vote.
Okay. Item C, approval to prepay the district's CalPERS pension plan's unfunded accrued liability for fiscal year 2022-23.
Thank you, Chair. Mr. Miguel Chavez from the district's administration department will present the report.
Good evening, Chairman O'Brien, Board of Directors, members of the Board. As we do as every year, CalPERS offers an opportunity to prepay the unfunded portion of our pension. It would be due at the end of July. The discount would be $36,916 or 3.3%. The advantage of having to pay on a monthly basis is you get to keep that money in, say, LAIF, and it earns interest. But taking a theoretical interest rate of 2%, we would still save more than $26,000 if we prepay early. And just as a note, as of 6/29, the LAIF yield was just 0.92%, far below 2%. So staff recommends that that you approve early payment of the unfunded amount. In addition, we would like to, staff would also like to recommend allowing the district manager to automatically pay the early payment going forward without having to consult with the board.
Okay. All right, is there any public comment? Okay, questions from board members?
For the people on Zoom that don't know, there's 2 members of the public that are in person. That's why we always pause for public comment. We have Mark Johnson here, and I see Doug Vanforth is sticking it out, and I'm impressed. So I do want to say, you got here early in the meeting to accept your award that you earned, and you stayed late to save us money, so I appreciate you.
It's a pleasure to present to the board.
I'd just like to comment, as an agency, we're really ahead of a lot of other agencies in being able to pay down and save the revenue. I mean, so many, if you read the paper, so many agencies are so far behind that they'll never catch up, and looking for creative ways to fund their obligations. So I have the highest regard for our management for putting the district in this position. Thank you.
I'll make the motion with the added part of allowing the district manager to do this without coming to the board. If you want to save us money, we're informed of what you're doing. Yeah, I like that.
I'm good with that.
So I'll make a motion to approve this.
Second.
I'll second.
Okay, roll call, please.
I'm sorry, are we adding the part where it doesn't have to come to the board?
Yes, we are adding that to this.
But a board member
could
could bring
that part in. I do want it to come to the board. I mean, I'll be requesting it to come to the board, so it's actually irrelevant because any board member can ask for that, so.
Yeah, I'd just ask that we move the staff I'd just move the staff recommendation and we'll bring it back to the board.
Okay.
Each year.
It's only once a year, okay. All right, so the amended motion is,
To approve staff's recommendation to prepay, save money.
okay. All right,
Roll call.
we had a second, we're good. Roll call?
Yeah. Director Avila,
Aye.
Director Dennert,
Yes.
Director Freeman,
Yes.
Vice Chair Gray,
Aye.
Chair O'Brien.
Yes.
That motion carries with unanimous vote.
All right.
Thank you, everyone.
Okay. Item 10, written communications of note.
Yeah, Chair, actually, I do have one to note. We received a letter from Michael Honeymore regarding our weed abatement program, specifically in Oak Park. That was distributed to the board last week. I just want to let the board know that our staff did jump on this. We do have a contractor that we're trying to get to do their job correctly. So immediately after we received the letter, Wayne's staff and the fire department and the contractor were all working together to respond to the letter and get the job done correctly. So just wanted to note that.
Is this a new contractor?
I think we use them, we've used them for other things. I'll have to have Wayne. We've used Venco for other things. I think this is the second year they've done weed abatement in a row. So we have used them in the past. I think they're probably struggling with hiring personnel, and you know, like a lot of us are in terms of getting qualified folks. So we're getting them in line to comply with this year's contract retirement, and then I think Wayne will probably be having a discussion with them relative to future contracts and their performance.
Okay. All right, great.
I have a question. How do we go out and check on everything they do?
Yes.
So you would have picked up on it?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
The actual way it works out is after we release contract for weed abatement, each one of the area supervisors is responsible for the open space and the clearing in his areas. There's only his. Eugene takes care of Oak Park, Paul takes care of the east half of Simi Valley, and John Courier takes care of the west half. To date, weed abatement has not gone very well. We did use them last year. I believe Dan had to intervene last year to get the contractor working. This is 2 years in a row. I figured they learned from last year what they had to do. They were a new contractor to us, and apply it to this year. Unfortunately, they didn't do that. So we're teaching them all over again what weed abatement is.
So this letter came in the middle of kind of that process.
I see.
They were still working on it.
There are deficiencies, right?
It wasn't completed yet, yes.
Okay.
Dan, the man that sent the letter, you've talked to him, and does he seem happy with what you've done so far, or still frustrated?
I think so.
He is happy with our response. I have not heard about the conclusion of our weed abatement, so waiting to make sure that the contractor, that was going to take a little bit of time to get that work done. So I'll follow up with Wayne to make sure that they're in compliance. So he was happy with the response. We're still working with the contractor on the result. So.
Okay. All right. Okay, was that it? Anybody else have any written communications and note have not been discussed? Okay. Item 11, reports by board members. Ed.
Okay. Attended 2 concerts in the park since our last regular board meeting. The Sarah Winchester Band, which is the country band, and Modern Platinum Groove last week. Both were enjoyable. Wish the attendance was a little higher on those. I did not go to see Bruno and the Hooligans, but Jill and I saw them last year. I know they're excellent. So I think Josh and Brian maybe were out there. I'm sure it was a great show. Really entertaining. We did go to the 4th of July festivities. Did not stay for the fireworks. I think everyone knows by now that's our annual routine to get home for Packer and Tamu and watch them outside our window here at home from the upstairs window. But I did go for some of the festivities. Enjoyed the music of Fantastic Diamond and Justin Hansinger. And then I've had several meetings in the past 3 weeks. I met with Teresa, I met with Zach on several issues, and I've been meaning to do this for a while, but had a really informative meeting with Jeannie over at Stratton. So that's what I have.
Thank you. Elaine.
Okay. Excuse me. I did attend the fireworks and stayed through the fireworks, and I thought Kiwanis did a great job in organizing. It was certainly a well-attended event, and the traffic control worked really, really well. I mentioned that to Kathy because it didn't get backed up. It was amazing. I went to the movie at Corrigan at the park, and that was really fun. Is How the West Was Won, and there must have been about 40 to 50 people there, and a fellow had brought books on all the movies, and anyway, it was a great event, and I hope we do that again. It was a fun evening. I had the Oak Park Committee meeting. It was a long meeting, but it was very productive and thorough. I don't know if Director Dinner wants to comment more, but here's the agenda. And we covered everything. There were presentations by, let's see, Santa Monica Mountains Conservancy, Resource Conservation, a presentation by the Oak Park Fire Safe Council, discussion on the volleyball courts. The items that were continued include the park inspection list, committee assignments, and selection of the 2022 committee chair and vice chair, and those will be at the next meeting. I also went to the retirement luncheon for one of our people who'd been a great employee for years. And I would like to adjourn in the name of Sherry Schultz this evening. And I'll give that information to staff.
I've got her
And
address here. I've got her, the address. Address, I've got the mailing address.
Oh, okay.
So we're good.
I didn't know her son's name. That's right.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have a question on the dog park. Is that a functional space or non-functional space water-wise?
I would say that's functional.
I just wondered how it was faring.
I would have to defer to Mr. Nakaoka. Wait, if you could come to the mic so that other board members can hear. I don't know, but how would you? Yeah.
I'm going to admit it's not faring well. The
Not
type of
very
grass-
well?
Not very well. The type of grass that's up there, we did cut it back from 3 days a week to 2 days a week because we're only watering certain areas 2 days a week, and the grass is kind of brown. It's unfortunate, but it
I was
is.
afraid of that. Thank you. That's it.
Okay. Director Dinner.
First, I want to say that, Dan, you being on vacation, you deserve it, and you should enjoy it. I'll do my best not to ask you any question at all while you're relaxing. It's going to be hard, but I'll do my best on that. And then I know that you put that district in good hands while you're gone. Dan and I have spoken, but there's still working with the property owner for the Poe Ranch property, but I've said before, and I want to thank State Assembly Member Jackie Irwin for putting that budget request. That's an awesome possibility. I look forward to finding out more as we get closer.
Yeah, Chair, or Brian, if I could comment. So what happened was we got a state appropriation to possibly purchase the property. We still have to work with the property owner to actually conduct the transaction. So all of that still has to happen. We got budget funds to pursue the purchase, but the negotiation with the property owner is yet to come.
Okay. Has the property owner expressed interest in selling this to us at all, or did we approach them?
Yes.
Both of the above?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Just curious.
I attended a few concerts in the park, including Oak Park and in St. Valley. We gave out some trail guides there, and there's a group that often attends as a group that's a big group of hikers, and they were excited for them. I wanted to say thank you to the staff for putting them together. They were fun. Bruno and the Hooligans is a very popular band. It's pretty awesome when you can see a band like theirs attract people to come to it. So I appreciate the staff putting that together, especially with the new feature with, I believe it's Toyota sponsoring it, with a play area for kids. Because sometimes kids are into the music and sometimes they can listen to it as they play. But this new fun games that they brought, so I appreciate the staff not being on autopilot and saying concerts in the park are popular, but them thinking how can we make them better. So good job there. We had another Eagle Scout completed project, and I think we normally invite them to board meetings to present a certificate. And he put in a bike pump stand, bike repair stand at the duck pond, right at the corner at the Royal, so it's easy to keep an eye on, so hopefully nobody messes with it. But it's also making St. Valley a little bit better of a place to bike. It came out really nice.
Great.
And then I think Elaine covered most of the Oak Park meeting, and I want to say just two parts. We had discussed, and I'll bring this to discuss a little bit later, it's been a long night, but Harry Medved thought it might be a good idea. I suggested it, and quite possibly in the future on a board meeting, it could just be at the beginning. Instead of just public comment, it could be their chair or whoever's chosen. Just get us an update at Oak Park so they could just They don't meet too often, so just in the beginning of the meeting, kind of like we do some other updates. But we'll discuss that later. And then lastly, that sand volleyball solution. And I'm calling it a solution because it's not offering one thing. It's working with the school district in Oak Park, where we get access to courts for pickleball, and they can use a park for sand volleyball. And that's the type of solution where you see groups working together. The community doesn't know who did it or why or how it was put together, but they just get to play. And that's awesome. So when we solve each other's problems and we solve our own, those are really good things. So Zach, to your whole team that worked on that and everybody else involved, good job. That's it for me.
Okay. Josh?
Yeah, I attended the Bruno and the Hooligans Park in Oak Park. That was fantastic, as it was last year. Fortunately, this year I got to take my fiance. But Oak Park was enthused, and it was incredibly well attended. In June, I also attended the Oak Park Lagoon groundbreaking. That was also fantastic. Last week, I attended the Soccer Foundation meeting. I believe it was Danny asked regarding Rancho Santa Susana for the trees along the jogging path. I didn't want to speak out of turn, but I couldn't quite remember if we decided we were eliminating those trees and replacing them, or if the trees would stay where they were.
The board directed that we try to save as many of those trees as we possibly can.
Okay, thank you for the refresher. I'll reach out to him and let him know. I met with Dan at the Equestrian Center. We talked about the possibilities there. I'm excited for future community events to take place there and have more, more of the calendar at the Equestrian Center utilized. And then I hope everybody had a happy 4th of July and everyone has a great rest of the month. That concludes my report.
Thank you. Well, I didn't have any meetings aside from Zoom, but I did attend the fireworks, and they were great. It was really great to see them again. It's been a few years. It hasn't been the same. And Qantas did a great job, and I liked the concert to Hunsinger, and the Neil Diamond tribute guy was also great. So that was good. I'm glad to see it back at the park again. That's really great. It was good. The Samaritan Center is having a fundraiser on Sunday evening, the 24th, starting at 6. Go to the website, get a ticket. There's a wine and cheese tasting, silent auction, jazz. Sounds like a lot of fun, so I'm going. Hopefully see some of you guys there. My niece married her longtime boyfriend over the weekend, so happy about that. Good addition to the family. And that's all I have. Item 12, report by district manager.
Thank you, Chair. I've got quite a few items to update the board on. It's been a while since we've gotten together. We've had no issues of concern to report at the skate park, which is good news. I did want to note, if you recall at our last meeting, we talked a little bit about an uptick in vandalism specific to graffiti. We have extra security in the parks. We've got the extra hours authorized for the rangers, and we are continuing to work with the police department to identify the perpetrators of that. So it has slowed down a little bit, but we're still getting hit by some graffiti activity in our parks. So we do have the contractor engaged for the replacement of the gym floor. As soon as we have a time frame for that, I will have Wayne send that out to you, but we are in progress of getting our gym floor fixed. If the board will recall, we had a petition for some changes to the big pickleball courts at Rancho Simi. It wasn't new courts, it was just restructuring some things. Mr. Miller and Wayne and I have reviewed that list. We are moving forward with 3 of the 4 items that was on the petition. One of the items was a request for more shade. As the board knows, we always get requests for shade. So we are not going to move forward with the shade at this point. But if the board, if the committee, if they want to pursue that further, they'll have to have that discussion with the board. But the shade is, everybody wants shade, so we're doing everything but their shade request at this point. And that's been communicated to them. I did want to give props to our recreation staff, specifically I think Danielle and Richard, and and Laura, but they've secured $32,800 in donations for our events over the past month or so. So we've talked about trying to get the community engaged and getting more folks involved in supporting our programs. Those dollars will be used to support the Halloween Carnival, Snowfest, concerts in the park, and movies in the park. Specifically, Toyota has become a big partner with us in some of our events, and also SoFi, which is the new brand broadband provider in town. So they're stepping up and helping us provide our programs in the park, so I wanted to thank them. The Oak Park meeting, we talked about it, but generally we'll bring a verbal report back on the items at your meeting out in Oak Park. That's by design, so they have their meeting and then we have a little bit of time and we'll bring back, that'll be the time for us to talk about that item. So that'll be in your August 3rd meeting as a report on the Oak Park Committee meeting and the results of that. I wanted to note that we are in process. The board voted to ask us to install permanent audiovisual equipment in here to permanently allow for Zoom meetings. So we are working on putting that project together and getting that completed. Mr. Bamforth, it's funny, I just looked at him. He had suggested we look at tasers and night vision potentially as tools for the Rangers. We are pursuing both. And we will, that's in the works, and we're working with the Rangers to put that together. So I did want to note there was a significant, I think I mentioned it, but I just wanted to follow up, there was a significant child care regulatory bill proposed that would have had a massive impact on government agencies and park districts, but also our independent contractors. We worked with a coalition to kind of get that revised, and that was revised. So what they've decided to do is they're going to study the issue for a couple of years and then come back with probably a more responsible bill that actually achieves the goal of safety. So the bill has basically been hunted for a little bit for people to put together a more responsible bill that we can all live with, but also create safer camp environments. So that was a success. Recruitments, the board had authorized a limited term community outreach position. We are in the middle of, I think we have interviews for that tomorrow. Zach's got a recruitment open for the vacant supervisor position in Oak Park. Wayne is doing maintenance recruitments, and I think that's where we are on recruitments. Yes. Oh, I also want to mention, Josh, we're out for recruitment for an intern. We received 12 applications and we're interviewing 5. We did hire an intern about 6 months ago in the rec department. This intern program we're doing now is a little bit more management level intern, so want to let you know we're looking at hiring an intern here shortly. Outdoor programming, the board has expressed a need to enhance outdoor programming. We have some resources available now where we can potentially partner with some groups and do some more educational, more hikes, kind of outdoor type directed classes. So Zach and I are working on that. I did want to note the special needs. Remember the board directed that we enhance our adult rec program. I'm happy to report that Zach's staff has severely included more or enhanced the programming there. So we're trying different things. Some are popular and get attendance and some are not, but we have added quite a few programs, classes, and activities for the alt-rec community.
I saw the swim party coming up.
Yeah, so I want to thank staff for that, and that was based on board direction to do more in that area. A few more items here. The board will recall that you had asked that we send on behalf of the district's letters to newly elected officials. So now that the county election is complete, we'll be sending those to those that received office, and then we'll do another round in December after the November election. Pat Havens, we've had discussions about that. There's been different plans to recognize her retirement and her contributions to the committee. At this point, we're going to recommend that at now, and some have fallen apart and not. So as an interim, I'm going to recommend that we try to get her to a board meeting, and we can, honor her at a board meeting at that time, maybe on Zoom. And then if something comes together with the community later, we can also do that. But I do want to recognize her. She was our employee. She did a lot for us directly, and some of those events are hit and miss. So I do want to bring her before the board and do that if that's okay at that meeting. And then if there's another event later, we can be a part of that as well.
Will we do like a resolution with a photo?
That's a yes, yeah, that's right, yeah. A few more here. The Activity Center, good news, it was deemed complete by the city, and it's going to undergo an administrative review, which usually I think will go fine. So initially we thought we were going to have a hearing before the Planning Commission. So that's a huge coup. Ryan has directed the architect to start doing the structural drawings. So we got the approval for the Activity Center Phase 3 approved by the city effectively. We're still waiting for that final letter, but so that's a really big deal.
Let me just comment for those of you who do not do processing through the city or county. This is a significant decision by the city, and we should thank them, I guess, because otherwise there would have been a longer process with required exhibits and all of the stuff that goes into the public hearing process. And I just think it would thank staff and the consultant for putting everything together that made the city make this decision. So it's really good. Thanks, Wayne.
Apologies for the long list here, but I want to get this out to the board. The Equestrian Center, if the board will recall, we had a couple individuals asking for upgrades or to the Equestrian Center. We're looking at doing that in the fall, probably fall, winter. We got a lot of stuff going on, but we're going to turn our attention, or Wayne and his staff are, to the Equestrian Center probably in the fall months, as soon as we can get to it to meet those community needs. I did report out on the BMX track. We are in discussions with the city about the property. I am hoping to have something more concrete to report to the board maybe in the next 2 or 3 weeks. I did want to remind the board, the county has a grant to do a project out at the Oak Park Campground, or Oak Park Campground, which is not Oak Park, it's down Easy Street. They've got a campground there. The county is doing some improvements there, so I've been in discussions with county staff to, as a part of that project, perhaps adding a full-size disc golf course. So we're working on meeting the disc golf need through that county partnership. Yes. So I may need a little help from you guys if it gets to the Board of Supervisors level to talk to our Board of Supervisors member to have that. So the goal is, we've heard from them, we don't have a lot of space for a full-size course, so partnering with the county, there may be some financial contribution or maintenance obligations that we contribute to that, but that's good news, and Zach and I will continue to work with that on the county. Santa Sue handicap parking, Josh, we've been out there the last several Thursday nights and we haven't seen a problem. We'll continue to be out there. At some point we won't go out there, so if you hear from folks that are concerned and it pops back up, please let us know and we'll get back out there. So, and then
thank you, and thanks to the rangers and staff.
Upcoming board meetings, your next meeting is August 3rd, and that's the dedicated Oak Park meeting. Because we don't have a good hybrid solution there, we've been doing that Zoom only. I would recommend the same. I can work with Kate on that. It seems to work better for everybody if it's on Zoom and folks can participate a little bit more productively. We do have the Oak Park budget hearing. We've got the MRCA final budget. We've got a potential policy update regarding our records retention policy. We will be reporting out on the Oak Park Committee follow-up, and then Wayne's got an authorization to get some grant-funded equipment, a bobcat and a generator and things that we need your approval on. On August 17th, we're planning the youth golf fee item to come back before the board based on the speakers we had a couple meetings ago. We are also planning to bring back a review of our motorized vehicle rules in the open space and on trails. That was requested by Director Freeman. And then the district manager's review is tentatively scheduled for that night. I would assume that Ms. Pennington will be working with you guys on that item. And I believe we do not have any committee meetings scheduled other than the Historical Society. That concludes my report. I did send an email out that I will be taking some vacation time, and Zach will be the acting general manager during the time that I'm gone. That concludes my report. Again, apologize for the length, but there was a lot of, I want to make sure you guys were updated on everything that's going on.
Zach, what office are you using?
Okay.
I'll stick to mine for now.
At least this time.
He's gonna win.
Zach, Dan, thank you for the progress on the outdoors activities and the group bringing it in. What prompted that, or how did you decide to do that?
I'll take it, yeah. So that's been on our radar, but resourcing it with COVID and the after-school club and meeting staff, getting people that we could make it a priority of. We remember we moved Jeannie into the Strathern role. Well, as a part of that, once she gets up to speed and ramps up her staffing, the plan all along was for her to take a lead in the outdoor programming. Likewise, the MRCA contracts with a third party that does outdoor programming for them. And we are going to plan to tap into some of that MRCA programming for outdoor too. So it's kind of timing. All those things have now aligned. So now we think we can deliver on what the board had asked for.
The reason is the programs that they offer are so awesome that every time I see one of their posts, I get excited, and then I realize how far away it is. So the fact that they could offer that to our community is really awesome. Kate, we've recognized the groups that put on 4th of July before. There's a variety of ways to do that, whether we just send them a thank you or invite them to a board meeting, but I just want to bring it up because they put on a huge event. I don't know how best
It's a lot of work too.
I'll listen to other directors' feedback on how to best recognize them or to do it. But
I'll take that as direction, and we'll put something together for the board to recognize.
That'd be great. Yeah, I would like that because it was.
We're also going to
nice
recognize those folks that are providing sponsorships to us. We're going to recognize and thank them as well. So,
okay, I think that's a great idea.
So we'll bring that back to the board.
Okay.
I have just one more thing. I know that logistically it's difficult, but the podium,
yeah.
I don't know the best location, but that is not the best location. I can't.
Yeah, we talked about rearranging this and moving the podium over here.
We can move it here.
Yeah.
Or even this side of the post.
Yeah.
I think this side of the post.
That might work too.
Would be better.
When they're not on film.
Actually, I think we talked about once we get rid of this, putting the podium right in the middle. So we could, once we get rid of this equipment, we can put the podium right in the middle.
Yeah, that would work.
We moved it over there because of the,
Yeah.
but we might be able to, I think that we could put it in the middle. Yeah. So maybe we'll move it to the middle.
Okay.
Thank you though, but we've been discussing that ourselves, yes.
Okay, item 13, closed session. There is none. So unless there's anything else, I'm going to adjourn the meeting in honor of Sherry Schultz. We're adjourned.